Good morning. My name is Catherine Thomas, and I am the GroupLink Customer Care Manager. And we are going to go ahead and start this webinar. So I would like to welcome everyone, and hopefully you can hear me and you can see my screen. If you can't, or if you have a question or a chat at any time, just go ahead and put it in the chat box, and then I can see that and answer that for you. We are doing a webinar today with a new product called PowerShare. The presenters today are going to be Tay Kratzer. He is a GroupLink technology partner with Symmetra, and he is going to present on the PowerShare product. And then I am going to present on the current version of the help desk and then what you can expect in the future. So we will go through that PowerShare demonstration with Tay, and as soon as he is done, we will do a question and answer on that so that your questions are fresh and he's here to answer those for you. We will then go over the 11.5.1 beta version, the iPhone and the Android app, and the upcoming features for the help desk. So I am going to go ahead and turn the time over to Tay.
Okay, so let's go ahead. Can you hear me?
I can hear you great, Tay.
Terrific. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. Share. Okay. All right. And
all right, we can see it.
You can see it. Okay, great. Well, first off, thank you everyone for coming and getting familiar with PowerShare. So I just want to tell you I've worked in IT for quite a time, probably about 25 years, and I worked at a large software company supporting folks in IT on various products, mostly back-end kinds of products, email systems, and so forth. And then I went on to work in an IT department at a 600-user international law firm, and then I also worked at a cloud provider. That was my most recent stint. And, you know, something that I ran into quite a bit was the notion of scarce IT resources. People who had the ability to, they have the big key ring and they have the ability to do stuff, but then those people have no way to kind of break off a little piece of something that they do and give it over to other people. And so what I struggled with was there was often things that were repeatable that I could easily do, and I could easily even contain it in a script, for example, but I had no method to maybe catalog and organize those scripts for myself and then share that with someone else. And so we're going to acquaint you with this notion of micro-administration, but let me just point out some things that I noticed. So for example, when I was at the law firm, we found that what would happen is if we'd work on new projects, it might take years to get the projects done. And there was a lot of outside consultants that were used and so forth. And we had a help desk, and I affectionately referred to them as the helpless desk, because the help desk was staffed with people who were technically competent and could clearly see that a certain action needed to be taken on a system or a piece of software, but they were helpless to take any action. They then had to throw the problem over the wall to the IT people and say, oh, you got to go do that thus and such, And so, and if someone was going ballistic, they'd have to actually come over to IT and do a little dance and try and get the attention to the problem. And it was just a lot of frustration on both ends and wasted time. And then when I was at this cloud provider, I saw a different way that they approach problems was they were giving too many people too many rights, quite frankly. And so a technical specialist was given open door privileges to servers, trusting that they wouldn't bump into things that were outside of their job function. And so, another thing that I find is that not everything that IT is tasked with to do is administrative or reactionary. A lot of what an IT person does is gather little bits of information that others cannot gather because the information is at those in-between spaces that are difficult or too costly to expose. in a traditional full-featured manner. And so the purpose behind PowerShare is to allow IT departments to become heroes who can make these simple applications to enable other people, even beyond the help desk, to participate in doing things such as gathering information or causing a change of some sort. And you'll see this when we demonstrate this. And we're not trying to make you into programmers. Quite frankly, a lot of what you're doing, we're just trying to capture that and then give you a button to it. In a sense, think of it as a bookmark to the things that you do. So the primary goals of PowerShare are to allow IT people to spend more time on projects that are high value, such as new implementations and new technology, because so often, in a sense, they're keeping the lights on or washing the dishes, and we're trying to remove a lot of those things and move that off to other people. And then so the goal is to then share these smaller repeatable tasks with others to reduce everyone's workload and bring more joy. And what I mean by that is I want to give you an analogy. So if you've ever raised a young child, you know that when it gets to the point that you've taught that child how to get their own drink of water, or how to serve themselves their own food, that gives joy to everyone. The parent has a lot more joy because these little mundane things that you have to do all the time are off of your plate, but the child has a lot more joy because they can serve themselves and get things done faster, and there's just a lot less friction. They're not waiting on someone. And so that the idea behind PowerShare is it's meant to take these mundane tasks or these repeatable tasks and share those with others, and that really brings joy both to the IT person and to the other people that might be involved. Typically your help desk, but there might even be other people inside of your organization that you can trust to do certain things. So without further ado, I want to give you a demonstration then of PowerShare. So here I'm logged in to the PowerShare console, and I'm just going to go ahead and log in here so you can kind of see that sequence. Okay, so here I'm logged in to PowerShare. I'm logged in as an admin user. Okay, and what I want to demonstrate today is I'm going to show you 3 different PowerShare applications. Now I have quite a bit more than that, but I'm going to just demonstrate 3 of them, and I'll show you how we share these applications with other people. I'll show what a PowerShare admin can do. They can create apps and folders, links and share folders, and then I'll also show you what a non-admin person can do. And I'll show you how you can search for PowerShare applications. And finally, PowerShare, has these things of, folders and links, and I'll kind of help you to understand the value of those. So let's give you a for instance, okay? I have a web server. Okay, this web server is over on this Linux box, okay? Now this Linux box has an Apache web server. Now, sometimes under certain conditions, this web server, it's good for it to be restarted. Okay, someone's uploaded something and it's, the web server isn't displaying it, and a simple restart of the web server seems to solve all kinds of problems with this particular web server. So what we've done is typically to run this web server, I would do, etc initd rc apache, no, okay, I'll just do it this way, rc apache 2, and then I do like a restart or something like that. Okay, that would be the command that I would run. Now, in order for me to have run this command, I have to get privileges to the server. I have to actually run the server. Let's pull that back up. So I have to actually get like a PuTTY session in this example to that server, authenticate and so forth, know the commands that I've got to type in, issue those commands in order to affect a change, okay? Now, what we've done is again, this is this rc apache 2 command, restart. Well, looky here. Inside of Symmetra, we've said, hey, Symmetra, you've got an agent that's running this PowerShare agent that's running on this box, and it needs to look in bin bash to use this interpreter. RC Apache 2 is a bash script, okay? So he's saying you go and you run this bash script and issue the restart command. Now I happen to know some more about bash, and so I was able to put in some extra stuff here, but I don't need to. I could take that out. But that then restarts the web server. And so if I go here and I click on run, it's telling the agent that's running over here, the PowerShare agent that's running over on this box, you go and issue that command. And so when the command is issued, the standard output, the standard error, and the exit code are sent back to the server, and then the server displays it here in the client. And so I just affected that web server. So let's just demonstrate for you here. Okay, you can see the web server's up. And now, okay, here we go. I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to stop the web server. Okay, the web server's down, and let's just prove that. Okay, sure enough, that web server is down. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start it again. Okay, it started, and I'm going to refresh. There we go. So powerful. I didn't have to go to the console to restart that web server. So my job as an IT person is much, much faster because I didn't have to go over to that server to do this, again, this repeatable thing that I do over and over again, not necessarily every day, but in a given week, maybe I have to do it a couple times, and I don't have to go and I don't have to authenticate to that box and then type in those commands. But now here's another really cool thing. There's someone out on the help desk that I trust that they can do this also. Oops, I already added, so let me just go here and I'll just show you how we do this. Okay, Anastasia. Okay, so I've added her, and now what I can do is I'm going to log out. I'm going to log in as Anastasia. I happen to know her credentials for this demonstration here, okay? And now Anastasia is not an admin, so I'm just going to show you that here. She can't create apps, okay? She works on the help desk, but I've given this ability, I've given this little key, this particular folder, I've given over to Anastasia, so Anastasia can affect the same things. Anastasia can't edit anything, okay? But Anastasia can go ahead and run that same command, and so that little key's been given to Anastasia, and Anastasia can see that I shared the folder with her. Okay, so super powerful, that ability to, again, affect automation and then share that automation with other people. Okay, so that was a very simple application. Let's get into something even bigger than that, okay? So let's tell you about a different scenario, okay? We've got a MySQL database, okay? The company, this particular company has a large employee workforce and several office buildings, and the card key access to the buildings is handled via a MySQL database. So like when a user loses their security card, the user needs to be immediately removed from the MySQL database so that someone else isn't using that security card, and then but we don't want to actually deactivate the employee and the rest of the system, so we just need to rip them out of this MySQL database. Now, what would happen in the past in this particular organization is the security department would call the IT department in a panic. Well, they called the help desk, and we need to get the IT department to get someone on and rip them out of that MySQL database. And it's a really simple command for a DBA inside of Toad or something like that, or a console. And but the problem is that DBA is, again, that scarce resource. That person, what if the DBA is in a meeting? So do they have to pull out of that meeting? Well, yeah, because this is a security issue, and so we've got to take and pull that DBA out of that meeting, and that then upends the meeting and so forth. And so that was very, very inefficient for them to then go and do something that actually was very, very simple for them to do. And so what the DBA has done is they've created a script, okay? And they've then given, this is called the employee access script, And so what they've done is they've given the ability to the security department to delete an employee record. So I'm going to show you how we might do that. Now, first off, they have to query for the user inside of a database, okay? So I'm just going to query, let's just say the person's name has a first name of H and the last name of S. And so we're doing a query here, and all this is this is just a script that's running. In fact, here's the script. It's called employee.sh. So I'm going to just show you this here. All right, this is a bash shell script. This could be Python, this could be PowerShell, of course not on Linux, but it could be whatever language that you've got this script on. And so this is a script that I actually created, but you can get all kinds of scripts out on the internet and then modify those. And creating scripts nowadays, particularly things like PowerShell and so forth, is extremely simple, because I know, for example, Microsoft has 10,000 scripts that they have just out there at a repository where you can just download scripts for doing all kinds of magical things inside of your Windows environments. Anyway, so what I'm doing is I'm actually executing this employee script inside of here, and I'm getting a listing of all of the users with an H and an S, and there it is. That's the person that we need to deactivate their cards. So see that Herb Swen? Okay, their employee number is that, and that's the thing that I have to rip out of the database. So I'm going to say delete employee record, and so it takes the input of the employee number. Okay, and here we go. Boom, we took the user out of that database. Now, just you can see what's behind the scenes, okay? All right, so you notice here, bin bash, so this is a bash shell script. We're gonna do, the next script's gonna be a PowerShell script, but, and it's off of home tkratzer scripts employee.sh, okay? It takes a -F switch for the first name and a -L switch for the last name, and we can add other switches, but so now that those are the input points that we are asking from the user, and then the output is sent to this script as a -F and then whatever value they filled in, and a -L in the value that they filled in. And so again, so now I've, with a very simple script, been able to enable other people to be able to take action, and even myself. If I were the DBA, why go into Toad any longer, or whatever it was that I was using to manipulate that database? I've made this app, and I can go ahead and I can do it myself, or I can share it with someone in the security department, just as I've done here, and then they can log in. And I don't want to belabor that. You've seen how Anastasia can do the same thing, and so they can log in and run this script in my behalf. Okay, so the third thing that I want to demonstrate is a PowerShell script. Okay, so let's see here. In fact, I'm just going to show you I know that's an RDP, yeah, there we go. So you notice here how I can do a quick search, because I could have this dizzying amount of scripts and folders, and folders and so forth. And so I can quickly search here and find, aha, it's that RDP report script that I was trying to find. In fact, I want to show this to you here. Something that's really cool inside of PowerShare is, notice that we've got this public description, and I was testing yesterday, so I'll just show you here. So I'm just going to do Harry, okay? Or no, Harry, sorry, Harry, okay? So I'm going to say update, and if I do a search here, and I do Harry, there we go, it finds that folder because that's inside of this description field. So the power of that is I've said, oh, this has to do with RDP. I'll just put that inside of there. Whatever words I put inside of this public description area, I can search off of, and it'll also search off of the name. And so that's a really great way of categorizing things, cataloging, and being able to quickly find it inside of PowerShare. So right here then, this RDP report, what this is I'll give you the scenario, okay? There's inside of this particular organization, they have a piece of software that is running on a Windows box. It's a very beefy Windows box, and it has this very particular piece of software that's custom made. And this this box needs to be audited monthly so that the accounts payable department can pay this software manufacturer according to the number of RDP sessions to this particular Windows server. Okay, so the administrator created a PowerShell script. They didn't create it actually. They just went on to Microsoft's website and got it. But they got this PowerShell script. They put it on the Windows box. In fact, I'll just show it to you here. It's called whordp.ps1. Okay, there's the PowerShell script. And now what happens is they said, well, you know, we'll just give this report to this person in accounts payable, and they can go and they can run the report, look at how many, you know, people logged in on this given month, and then send that off to the manufacturer. So I'm going to go ahead and just run this, and it's going to come back here, okay, in exactly the same manner. So I'm just going to run this here too so you can see how this works. Okay, so that's the output of that script, and that output is sent back to the server and then sent back here to the client. And so I'm seeing that same thing. So you can imagine now we've said, you know what, I can just give this over to this person in accounts payable. They can then go ahead and, you know, find this information for themselves and send that information off, and they don't have to wait for me. So again, this is getting that glass of water for themselves. Can you imagine the joy that's going to bring someone not to have to get in the queue? They're sitting there waiting and, you know, waiting for someone to get back. They can get this done themselves. Okay. So that's the last app that I want to demonstrate for you. I have many apps, but and I can do all kinds of really cool things, download things to boxes and run scripts and so forth in that manner. But I'm now going to show you just a couple other things. When I worked in IT, I found that very often we would have scenarios where we had links to HTTP consoles or links to knowledge base articles and so forth, and it felt natural to want to cluster those together and to be able to search those things. So I thought, well, why don't we just put that right inside of PowerShare, and inside of PowerShare then we can create what's called a link, and a link is an extremely simple thing. It's just a URL, but then it's searchable, okay, and so I decided to put the word Dirk in there, so you can notice here, Dirk, okay, or I can come back over to the search feature here, Dirk, okay, all right, and so there's that website searchable to me, but also I can naturally put it in these folders relative to the apps in Symmetra. So you could see that, you know, here's the website Hokeland, and here's how I control that website inside of this same folder. So that's the notion behind links. Again, very simple but very powerful because I can search them and I can share those along with those folders that I share with other people. And then PowerShare folders are just, well, what like you're seeing in front of you, this is a folder that I'm in, and so that you can organize things with, and then of course you can share those folders with others, but only if you're an admin. If I were to log in as Anastasia, okay, I've got her credentials here. If I log in as her, okay, she can create, oh my goodness, I logged in as the wrong person here. Okay, let's do that. I logged in as administrator. Okay, all right, there we go. So you can see here, Anastasia can create folders and links, and but can't share that folder with anybody. It's just for Anastasia's, you know, own organizing of the things that she wants to organize inside of PowerShare. Okay, so I think we're really close here to the end. Yep, that's what I wanted to share with you. So I'm going to come back to our slideshow and just talk about this for a moment. So when I went to create the prototype for this, I called a gentleman at a bank, about a 3,000 user bank, and I said, hey, you know, they'd cut over from the from these Linux-based systems and so forth, and you know, on-site email, etc., and they'd cut over from that to the cloud. And I said, you know, so now that you've cut over to the cloud, they're using Office 365. Now that you've done that, what are you doing with your time? And he talked about that a lot of what they do is, he said that although the users are actually very pleased with the end user experience, a lot of what they do, he said, takes 10 times longer than it did prior, because now that they're dealing with the cloud, they have to wait on things, and there's little recipes that they have to run in the form of PowerShell scripts to resolve problems. Anybody that's in a modern, large Windows environment knows that you have to use PowerShell scripts and so forth. And he wished that he had a way to, he called it making a runtime of the PowerShell scripts that he had to resolve problems, these repeatable problems, and to somehow share them with the help desk, because he'd make the PowerShell script to be on this server that would have just the right .NET and just the right components in place, and you know, gee, how could he share that with other people? And so and then once he knew about PowerShare, he was just tickled pink, and they're one of our key customers. But what he wants to do is he figures that when he shares this with the help desk, they're going to be using it several times a day, every day, okay, to resolve problems. And but the neat thing is he's not going to have to be running these scripts. Other people can be running these scripts in his behalf. So can you imagine? It's not just the fact that the help desk, for example, can resolve the problem themselves, but the help desk doesn't have to engage the IT person, who typically would have to be switching context. Oh, okay, I got to work on this problem. Okay, I got to put the problem I'm working on, put it on ice, okay, you know, and communicate with whomever, whatever it is, you know, hey, I can't work on that right now. I got to work on this thing because that's, you know, that's suddenly become higher priority. So you switch over to that thing and you work on that for, you know, maybe it only takes you 10 or 15 minutes to work on that other thing, but then you have to switch back to the thing that you were at before. Okay, what was that I was doing? Where was I? You know, and you take it off of ice and you communicate and so forth. So every time you get pulled off of something, you get disrupted. And imagine, take for example that DBA that gets called out of a meeting. Okay, it isn't just an IT person that gets disrupted. It might be a group of people that get disrupted. And you think about the cost associated with that, you know, every time someone gets disrupted. It's not just how long they took to do that, but how long did it take to engage them, how many people had to be involved engaging them, when they're pulled off of a project, how many people are impacted by that. And so there's real cost behind that, and quite frankly, a lot less joy and a lot more frustration and friction. And that was really the goal behind PowerShare, is to remove that friction. And that's what software is supposed to do, is remove friction and make people more efficient. So, okay, that's what I had to present today. I hope I've covered most of the points, but I'm assuming there's going to be questions. So, Catherine, maybe you speak up and tell me how you'd like me to proceed.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So for right now, if anyone has any questions, you can go ahead and put them in the chat, and Tay will be able to see those and therefore answer them. If you can't see how to put a comment in the chat, if you hover your mouse over the screen, a control panel will come up on the bottom. It looks like Tay's showing that right there. And you can click on the chat option and then just go ahead and type your question in. So we'll just go ahead and give you a few minutes to type those in, and then we will answer any questions that come up.
Okay. All right. Great. So I've got some questions here. So what kind of scripts do we support? Well, so that's a great question. So the neat thing is that PowerShare is really just the button and the wiring to whatever scripts you've got. Okay. Or not even just scripts, it can just be commands. So or other software that you've got that's got something like a CLI type interface, so a command line type output and so forth. So you're not just limited. It's whatever that operating system, whatever that computer has installed, and just to get the breadth of this, I want you to kind of see this. I can affect automation on a Macintosh, on a Chromebook, on a Raspberry Pi, on a Windows box, a Linux box, all with PowerShare. So, and I can run very, very simplistic commands that don't even require a script. So let me just show you this one here. Okay, notice here I've showed the interpreters at this path, and then I just passed to that interpreter this particular command. So if I just want to show you this here. PowerShell is amazing. So here's what I was saying is we not only can execute scripts, but you can execute just commands. So right here, I've got the path to the PowerShell interpreter, okay, and then I've got this command, and it's just start process and then the calculator. Okay, now I know that's kind of weird. You wouldn't necessarily do that typically, but this is just so that people can visually get this idea. And if I were to go inside of a PowerShell command prompt and type this in, okay, you can see that that's what happens. Okay, so it's kind of cool. You can actually go into a console and you can develop things or come up with ideas, and then you can just take and you can dump it inside of the app that you're creating. So, but let's just show you here. I can start the calculator in this manner. Okay, again, this is really just for demonstration purposes. I don't know why you would typically do that, and then I can stop the calculator, okay, in that same manner. And what that shows you is how simple it is to start and stop things with a very simple PowerShell command. The challenge though with PowerShell that I found is there's so much you can do, okay? I mean, literally thousands and thousands of commands, whereas when I was on the Linux environment, pretty much you just learn about 20 different commands, and you just you put them together like Lego pieces, okay? Whereas PowerShell's got thousands and thousands of commands. And when I first started getting exposed to PowerShell, I thought, well, gee, if I went through the process of learning how to do this complicated thing, I'd of course want to contain it inside of a script, but then I have all these scripts. How do I catalog those? How do I find those? How do I execute them without having to go to a console? And then how could I share that with someone else and let them affect that automation on another screen? So it was really PowerShell that inspired me to make PowerShare that you're seeing in front of you. So, okay, so what scripting languages? PowerShell, Python, Bash, Git Bash, on Windows, for example, Perl, JavaScript, the list goes on and on. So good questions. Okay, so I'm going to come back up here to my Q&A. Okay. Can you use these scripts to run actual programs before attacks within those programs for processes that require proprietary software? Yeah. So let's talk about that for a moment. So a lot of software solutions have APIs or command line interfaces that you can call, and so yes, you can call. If you can call the software in that manner, then PowerShare will, allow you to do that. So, for example, let's say you've got some software that takes some SOAP-based, commands, and you can do that with a curl command, for example, or you're doing that with PowerShell and so forth. You can then pass those commands to that, third-party software and affect change inside of that third-party software. It's the sky's the limit, quite frankly, with scripting nowadays. And most software out there, I shouldn't say most, but a lot of software out there allows you to take and control the software through some kind of a command line or an API type interface. Okay, so great questions. On what platform? Okay, yeah. On what platform? Yeah, okay, so let me explain the architecture. That's a great question. So the way that PowerShare is going to be delivered is in this manner. So you'll install Docker on whatever machine that you'd like. Okay, wherever you can get Docker installed. So let's say it's a Windows box. Okay, you'd install Docker there, and then it's just a Docker instance. So those of you that aren't familiar with Docker, it's not scary. It's kind of like it's not VMware, but it's kind of like that. It's the notion that you have this platform, and then you can download to that platform a particular thing or a virtual machine. And so we'll distribute it as a Docker container is the term. And so it's very simple. We'll have very good instructions for how to download the PowerShare software with Docker. And the actual, the actual operating system behind the Docker piece is Linux-based, but again, you're completely removed from that because you've just got a web interface for all of that, and that's how you run it. But can you send me some kind of template and spreadsheets I can use in communicating the value message to my management? Yeah, it's a really great question. I think that we need to, I think that's something that GroupLink has got to help with to help to convey that, because you're right, it's difficult to kind of explain, here's the actual cost benefit of this, and I can understand that that's what you're going to need in order to explain this to the business people. So I'm going to lean on GroupLink to help us put that together and get that off to you. So good question. And then, okay, now there is one other thing about operating systems. Okay, so operating systems. So I talked about the server. Let's talk about the agents. Okay, so the PowerShare agents will run on Windows, Linux, Mac. Okay, and there's a couple different versions of PowerShare. The PowerShare, what's called Team Edition, will only run on Intel-based platforms, and specifically not the ARM processors. Okay, so whereas like a Raspberry Pi is an ARM processor, and you've got to get what's called the I'm trying to remember the term, the Enterprise Edition, I apologize, the Enterprise Edition to be able to run on ARM processors. So that's the agent. So the agent's a very small piece of software. It basically, what it does is the agent talks back to the server every 5 seconds and says, hey, got something for me to do? Yes, no. And if yes, it goes ahead and executes it and then sends that output back up to the server. So again, very simple piece of software, and that can run on, just about, again, as long as you get the Enterprise Edition, it can run on just about anything you could possibly imagine. And if you get what's called the Team version, then it'll run on, your standard operating systems, Mac, Linux, and Windows. And so I want you to also kind of see that there's a whole IoT bend to this that could be kind of fun. We've got lots of people that are starting to put in Raspberry Pis, particularly since they now have this Ethernet on. I can't remember the term, but basically you can plug it right into your Ethernet, and that's your power source for these devices. And so now can you imagine that you could be controlling your Raspberry Pis also from PowerShare? So powerful stuff. Okay, I think I don't see any more questions so far. Yeah, Q&A is all clear. So while we've got a little bit more time, unless Catherine tells me we do a wrap-up, I can show you, I can demonstrate a few more things for you, kind of some value points here. So I've been, I've got folders inside of PowerShare that simply have links inside of them. So it's a really, really powerful idea is now that I have this ability to search stuff, I don't know if those of you that do a lot with bookmarks, but it can be kind of frustrating because you have to make this very complicated bookmark architecture. And now with inside of PowerShare, you can keep all of your bookmarks relative to the things that you're doing at work. I find that just very, very helpful for myself. Another thing is it's very simple to make these apps. So I'll just show you this here. So you just simply select the platform. Okay, you see we're starting to play with Android too, just so you know. But you select the platform and the agent for the particular box, and then you give it a name and your interpreter and so forth. But what's also cool is you can take a given app and you can do a copy command, and it just has everything filled in for that app, and then you can make slight lot of modifications. So if you know that's on the Hokeland server, you know it's bash, you just take and you just do a copy, and then you just rip that out and you put in the particular script that you want. So anyways, really powerful way, a very simple way of making a template of a script, and you can just make a folder and just make templates, for example, and anytime you go to bang out an app, you just go, you know what, I ought to just make that into an app, and you just copy one and then make a slight modification, and you're good to go. So that's kind of some cool stuff. Here under users, adding a new user is really simple, and then you just indicate whether or not they're an admin or a non-admin. Now, if I make someone else an admin, they don't have, if I share with them a folder that I created, they don't have any ability to edit that folder. So in other words, I can kind of have my domain. So let's say I'm really good at DBA stuff, and I share it with this person that's over, firewall or something like that. And so I share this with someone else. They have the ability to affect that automation, but they don't have the ability to edit or modify the things that I've shared with them. So that's really kind of a cool thing. Now we have IT people then that can be sharing things with one another and kind of have each other's back on certain things that they choose to do. So it's kind of a powerful concept with admins. So right here, these are things that have been shared with me by someone else, and I don't have any ability to edit them. This has been shared with me by Willem, and but I can go ahead and run these processes on their particular box. I can stop a process, for example. So I have to get the PID, but what I could do is I could list processes here, and what this does is it goes out and gets all of these processes. I can then take that PID. Oh, that's the wrong output. I need to use a different script. But anyways, I can find the PID and stop a particular piece of software based on its PID. So that's something that Willem shared with me. So kind of cool stuff. And when something's shared with you, it's green. If it's something that you own, it's blue. Is our scheme here, our color scheme.
All right. It looks like there are no other questions. So we are going to go ahead and move on to the help desk portion.
Great.
But before we do that, I would just like to let everyone know that there is a link on the GroupLink website that you can go ahead and request information on PowerShare, and that right now we have a free version. The free version will be available by the end of the year, it looks like. Correct me if I am wrong on that, Tay.
No, that's right.
Okay. But I just wanted to let you know that there is a link on the website, and you can find the information there. So let me go ahead and just share my screen again. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and move on to 11.5.1, which has been in beta for the last 2 weeks. And when I say has been in beta, that means that we have tested it extensively here. We also are running it on our support site, and we have several customers that are currently testing it in their test environments at their locations. So right now, things look pretty good. We haven't heard of anything not working, so we're hoping to get that released to you soon. It does work with MS SQL, and I'm not sure why this didn't update, but it should have Oracle on there as well. We did have an attachment issue. We had some bigger customers that had very large attachments that were having an issue, but that has also been resolved as well. So if any of you were waiting for those items, just know that those have been resolved in this next release. One of the other things that I was going to discuss today was the mobile app. It came out with our version 11.5, and honestly our biggest question was, how do you set it up? Of course, we do have a knowledge base article that tells you how to do that, but I thought I would just show you this real quick. What you're seeing here on the right is just the actual screen the first time you install it after you've downloaded it from the App Store. And if you notice, it's asking for an API server. That sometimes confuses people, but all it is the server to your help desk. And then at the end, you're just adding the \API/. That just gives you access to it. You log in. Once you've successfully put that string in there, you won't see it anymore, and you'll just log right into the help desk. If you ever change it, or if you ever need to look at that again, all you would do is click on the little settings icon in the upper right hand corner, and it will pull up that same string, and you can edit it if you need to. Now, the app is available to end users. Most of our customers were requesting it for technicians only, but just know that end users can use it as well. So the next screen here, I'm just quickly showing you a few things of what it looks like. Now, as far as the technician view, as soon as you log in, you're going to see all of your custom tabs that you would normally see when you log into the desktop. So you would just select the one you want, and then you're going to see all of your tickets. So what you're seeing here on the left-hand side is all of the tickets that you can just go ahead and look at by touching it on the screen. On the right-hand side, what you're seeing is just how you can sort it. So sometimes, if you're looking at the default, but you're looking for something more specific, you can just go ahead and click the sort button and then choose the way that you would like to sort it. If you notice at the bottom of the ticket view side, there is also a templates option. So templates are available to run in the app. So it's a nice feature if you do have some of those quick ticket templates set up for your end users to run, and your end users are using the app. They still will have access to those. And then, of course, technicians will have access to any of the other ones that they have set up for them to run. So that's pretty much it for the app. I mean, it's pretty easy to run, looks the same as the desktop. But if you do have any questions, or if you have any suggestions on how we can make that better, you can go ahead and send those to me. As far as the upcoming features, we're working on a number of things, and I just put a few items here on these slides. But again, if you have any questions as far as if there's a feature that you're looking for that might be coming out, you can put those in the chat or just send me an email. But we do have some user management changes, and what we mean by that is you will now be able to delete a user, filter on a user, but you can also view all of your technicians, or all of your managers, or all of your users. So you can just see them all together rather than scrolling down and looking in the role column. As far as the SLA is considered, I don't know if everyone is using that right now. We do have some knowledge base articles on these items, so if you need some training on how to use that, you can go there, or you can give me a call as well. But we are adding some calendar additions to that, meaning right now you can set up the calendar as far as the days that you work and the times that you work, so that when tickets come in on the off times, it is not counted against the technician. But we do have a lot of customers that work Monday through Thursday, certain hours, and then Fridays are different, or they have every other Friday off. And so we added that capability to just have a more specialized calendar than just a Monday through Friday and then the holidays that your state or that your company observes. And then the other one is, right now you can view the SLA portion on all tickets. It just comes that way by default. But we've added a permission so that you can take that away from the users. You could take that away from technicians as well. That would be up to you as the administrator or the manager, but there will be a permission in the permission model to take that view away. The sub-ticket information. So right now you can have a ticket and you can create a sub-ticket underneath that. What you see currently when there is a sub-ticket is the ticket number and the date. and maybe the subject. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And now you as the administrator will have the option to let the technician see anything you want them to see. If you want them to see the created date, the modified date, the status of that ticket, the notes, that's strictly up to you and how you set that up. So there will just be, as much information as you would like to see or as little. The system welcome message, we are making that so that you can put a URL in there so that they can click on it and go to that URL if it's something that you're needing to get out to everyone, or just some general information. The work time. Right now, the work time just starts when the ticket is open, and you can start it and stop it, or you can just add however long it took you to work that ticket. But what it doesn't do is show if it passes from one technician to the next. So now what will happen is it's going to be attached to the technician rather than to the ticket. A lot of times a ticket will come in and it needs to be escalated, or maybe someone goes on vacation and so somebody else works the ticket. So it will be attached to the technician rather than strictly to the ticket. There will be a ticket instructions feature. A lot of times, the biggest struggle when deploying a new help desk or getting your users to actually use the help desk and not just, give you a call or stop you in the hallway is because they don't know how to enter it. Now, the help desk is very easy to use, but there are still some people, that have an extra challenge. So we have included an instructions feature that will let them know, what they need to fill out, what that field might mean. We added this basically for the custom fields because sometimes, we have custom fields that are appearing because of a category or a category option that they've selected. And so just so that they're not confused, we're trying to get past that part. There will be a chat feature. The chat feature will be using Rocket Chat, so this will enable end users to be able to just send a chat over to a technician and work with them that way. Suggestive solutions when entering a ticket. This is pretty much like the knowledge base, but rather than, when you're entering a ticket and thinking, oh, maybe I should check the knowledge base to see if there is something out there. Most end users are not going to do that. But if they, select the category of hardware and then they select the category option of phone, what you can do is have it pop up some suggestions, maybe unplug the phone, plug it back in, and hopefully those solutions will help before they submit that ticket. And so they're getting self-help when, they don't really, they're not out there looking for it. We're just sending in some suggestions. And then the last one here is the ticket filter. We added the ability to put a watcher on a ticket a few releases ago, and now we are going to add the ability to filter on that watcher to see who are watchers on what tickets, and also adding the response time. So response time is something that is tied into the SLA, but you will be able to filter and see, what your average response time is, or maybe look at the response time for just one technician and run a filter and be able to export that. So that's all I have for the upcoming features and for the 11.5.1. Obviously, there is a lot more features coming. Those are just kind of the more popular ones that we had customers put in requests for, so I just thought that I would cover those ones. But if you do have any questions as far as if something that you're waiting for is coming out or something that you want, you can go ahead and contact me and we can take that to the product review board, to see if it's something we can get in the product or what the status of that will be. So we can go ahead, if anybody has any questions and you want to type them into the chat, go ahead and do so now. I'm just going to give you a couple minutes to go ahead and do that, and then I can answer those questions for you. Okay, so it doesn't look like there are any questions coming in. I think a lot of you that are on the webinar today were on the webinar last week, which we did cover some of the same items and then just highlighted another product of ours, GroupLink Explorer. But if you want to go ahead and connect with us on some different social media, the links are here. And then again, you can find the information for PowerShare, for Explorer, and of course the help desk on our website. And you can always contact Dan in support, or you can contact me with any questions or enhancements that you currently have. So I would like to thank all of you for attending the webinar today. A recording of this will be placed on the website as well. So if you want to go over some of those PowerShare features, feel free to go to the website and watch the webinar again. Look for more webinars next month, and thank you for attending the webinar today.